Phase 4 of Season of Discovery has finally arrived, meaning we're heading into Molten Core. Let's have a look at how we're going to play Arms Warrior now we've reached level 60. Starting off with the stat priority, the first thing we are going to want is actually our weapon stats. They are very, very, very important for a warrior. What do I mean and what are they, however? Well, they are DPS, weapon range, and speed. So that's going to be the actual range of damage, let's say 10 to 20, and then the speed of the weapon and the damage per second on the weapon. This is a really big contributor to our DPS as an arms warrior and is the absolute top priority that we upgrade our weapons ASAP. Basically, slower weapons have a bigger range of damage, and there are certain attacks like Slam which only care about the actual damage on a weapon, meaning slower having a bigger range equals more damage. After that, we have the actual weapon skill itself. And while this actually does a few things, the main reason is hit chance. The better we have a weapon skill, the higher the chance we have to actually hit our target. After that, it does something called glancing blows. Because the Molten Core bosses are actually 3 levels above us, we have a 40% chance to do a glancing blow against them, meaning we do 40% less damage. Now, higher weapon skill actually means that those glancing blows will do higher damage, meaning overall, the more skill we have in a weapon, the better the chance to hit is, and also the more damage we do, even if we do get a glancing blow. Then we have critical strike chance, of course, increasing the damage we do to a target by 100% to 200%. We can increase that slightly with a talent called Impale that I will be showing you shortly in this video, however. And after that, we're going for strength, attack power or AP, and agility. Strength is what gives us loads and loads of attack power. 1 strength equals 2 attack power. 1 attack power equals 1 attack power, of course. Meaning strength 1-by-1 basis is actually worth a lot more than pure attack power. You can use that calculation to work out which items will be better for you. Agility also increases attack power, but at a much lower rate. However, it does also very slightly increase dodge, armor, and crit chance. Overall, not by much though, and attack power and strength are always going to be better than it. This is the talent build we are going to be using. I won't go through it in granular detail as we are now max level. And before this, I have done guides at phase 1, 2, and 3 at the level brackets of 25, 40, and 50. And you should watch those if you are at those brackets and are still leveling. You can check out my channel playlists for those. We're basically maxing out all of the damage increasing talents that we can in arms, specifically using a few utility talents like Tactical Mastery, where we're going to gain some rage when we actually switch stances. This does mean that you can do some stance dancing, meaning swapping in and out of stances to actually gain extra rage if you are out of any. As of course, as a warrior, our default rage amount is 0. Overall, though, we do want to be in Berserker stance as much as possible for the extra crit chance on it. And we can use things like Improved Overpower, where we're increasing the critical strike chance of Overpower by 50% for times when maybe we're not even in Berserker because we're stance dancing. And, we obviously still want to get as many crits out as we can. Apart from that, again, talking about crits, we do have Impale, increasing the critical strike damage bonus of your abilities in Battle and Berserker stances by 20%. What that means is rather than doing 200% damage on a crit, it does 220% damage. And lastly, we have Mortal Strike, one of the big abilities we're gaining in this talent tree. A Vicious Strike dealing weapon damage on a 6-second cooldown, plus 85 and wounds the target, reducing the effectiveness of any healing on them. We're then going to put our remaining talents into the Fury tree, increasing crit chance by 5% with Cruelty, Unbridled Wrath, giving us some extra chances to get more rage, increasing our Battle Shout's potency. This is a spell we're using to enhance the attack power of our raid members by however much it is, I can't remember, for 2 minutes. And then Enrage, of course, giving you a 25% melee damage bonus for 12 seconds, up to a maximum of 12 swings, after being the victim of a critical strike. Of course, depends if we are getting attacked for that one. From left to right, top to bottom, on the rune slots then, starting off with the head rune, it's Taste for Blood. This has a really good synergy with some of the other runes we are going to be taking. Whenever you rend ability causes damage, your overpower ability will activate for 9 seconds, or 1 attack. This effect will not occur more than every 6 seconds. Overpower is an attack that we've mentioned up here with improved overpower. We're increasing the crit chance of it by 50%. And we will be using our rend ability, this is a dot or damage over time bleed we're putting on them, to fish for taste for blood procs on our overpower ability. Usually, overpower is only usable after the enemy actually dodges your attacks. And it's just a really great attack that we can use. Speaking of Rend, we're putting Blood Frenzy on the chest rune. Rend can now be used in Berserker stance. Again, the stance we're going to be trying to use as much as possible, but we are going to be doing a bit of stance dancing. Rend's damage is increased by 100%, and Rend deals additional damage equal to 3% of your attack power each time it deals damage. Considering we are actually going to be using Rend as well to fish for those taste for blood procs on our overpower ability, the Blood Frenzy rune is even better because of this. Another one that actually does very well with this is Frenzied Assault. While wielding two-handed attack weapons, your attack speed is now increased by 20%, and this goes beautifully with Taste of Blood and Blood Frenzy with those attacks. But back up to the top, we've got Rampage, where we can go onto a Rampage, increasing our attack power by 10%. Can only be used, however, while enraged. Then, lastly, on the top one, we've got our Hand Rune with Quick Strike. This will also benefit from anything that triggers or uses Heroic Strike. And now that we have a lot better rage regeneration, etc. at these higher levels, Quick Strike is a really good ability that we can add into our rotation. On the waist, it's Precise Timing, making Slam instant, but adds a small cooldown. We've spoken about Frenzied Assault. Enraged Regen. Oh, interesting one here. You could go for Rallying Cry as well. Enraged Regen heals you for 30% over 10 seconds when you're enraged. Or Rallying Cry can temporarily increase the health of your party and raid members, adding survivability to everybody, not just yourself. Really depends on the situation, which one you would like to go for at which times with those. Then we've got Sudden Death. So you may or may not be aware, we have an ability called Execute. You may want to take points out of Enrage, potentially, or go into Improved Execute, if depending on how long the fight is and how long you're going to be in the Execute phase. Execute is an ability that we can use at 20% health or lower. For the enemy, that is, not our health. It's a finisher. It's an Execute phase. At low health, we can use that ability to do big damage on the enemy. Now, Sudden Death basically gives us proc chances where we can use Execute no matter how high or low their health is. And all of our melee hits are going to have a 10% chance to proc this. When we do use our Execute with Sudden Death, we are also going to retain some Rage as well. And this is fantastic. If you see that proc come in with our Execute, please do use it. Lastly, we've got on ring specializations, Axe and Defense. If you're using an Axe, use the Axe. If you're using a different type of weapon, two-hander that is for arms, then use that one. So whatever type of weapon you're using, use that specialization. Remember at the start in the stat priority, it's about weapon skill and glancing blows. This Axe specialization will impact that. Secondary, defense spec. Defense skill is increased by 25, not cumulative with other ring runes, and therefore we can get a bit more survivability on there. Really, really simple for those last few runes. But how does it all come together? Well, first things first, let's use Charge to charge into battle and generate a little bit of rage when the tank pulls. Don't do it too preemptively, or you might even take aggro, of course. After that, we do want to stay in Berserker stance as much as possible. If you are completely out of rage, you can stance dance to get some back, of course, but again, it is the priority to be in Berserker when we can. We can then help our group take armor off of the enemy with Sunder Armor. It's an attack we can use to reduce the armor on the enemy, and it does stack up to 5 times. However, do not use this if you have a priest in the group using the Hum and Shuli rune. The little minions that actually summons will do this for you, and you can completely skip this step. After that, we're looking at buffing and debuffing both our allies and targets, with Battle Shout, increasing attack power for our allies, and using Demoralizing Roar or Thunderclap on our enemy when appropriate. Demoralizing Roar will decrease how much damage our enemy can do, while Thunderclap is going to increase the time between the enemy's attacks. We're then going to use Execute whenever we possibly can, whether that's from our Sudden Death procs or in the Execute phase when the enemy gets to below 20% health. After that, use Slam whenever it's made instant, not by Blood Surge, but actually by Precise Timing. Sorry, my mistake. And after that, we are going to be using Overpower. God, what have I've really messed this up over here, haven't I? With Overpower, you do want to kind of try and utilize it when you can to not waste as much rage as possible. Again, trying to use it in Berserker stance when you can. And then after that, really quite simple, use your Mortal Strike on cooldown, use your Whirlwind whenever you can, and use your Quick Strike with excess rage. Again, now we're high level, we don't have as much rage issues. We can use more of these, and it will help with fishing for Wild Strikes if there's a Feral Druid, or Wind Fury Totem procs if there is actually a Shaman in the group. If you don't know what these two things do, when you do melee hits, it gives us a chance to increase our attack speed when we are hitting. So basically, we do melee hits, it gives us a chance to increase that. It's a buff given to us by shamans and druids. After that, if you do have any extra excess rage, still, we can use Heroic Strike. That is the main single target rotation. If we are actually going to be doing AoE, simply change out Heroic Strike here for your cleave attack. And apart from that, we do have Sweeping Strikes here. You should use this on cooldown when appropriate in AoE. So, basically this one, when there's 2 or more targets, your next 5 melee attacks strike an additional nearby opponent. It's on a 30-second cooldown. You should be using this whenever there is more than 1 target, because you can basically hit 2 of them rather than 1. Apart from that, use your Whirlwind whenever possible on a high priority rather than low priority in AoE situations. Don't, of course, forget to use your Rampage as well whenever appropriate for a small DPS increase on cooldown. And that is pretty much going to be it for how you're playing Arms Warrior this phase. If you guys do need any extra help at all, do feel free to join my Patreon. There is a link down below in the description for this, and I can help you one-on-one in DMs there, as well as give you my LVI profiles that I have made. And there's also WoW spreadsheets and macros, which could be really, really helpful in your journey as well. All made uniquely by me. It's a lot of behind the scenes info and one-on-one support that I give as thanks to you guys who do consider signing up. It does really, really support the channel and the making of these videos. And if you are looking for other class guides, check out here, because I've got a whole playlist for all of them this phase.